Bob Fioretti joins us. He wants to be mayor of the city of Chicago. And Bob, nice to have you with us. We've known each other for a long time, so I'll call you Bob.
That's
all
okay.
Right.
You got it.
And the question is, everybody's been seeing the commercials ready for Fioretti. Those commercials would not have probably happened without the generosity of Buddy Guy, who made a $400,000 donation. $500,000, $100,000 here, $100,000 there. How did that happen?
Well, I've known Buddy for a long time. We've talked about the issues of the city of Chicago that affect us over the period of a long time. I have to tell you, I'm truly humbled by the donation, and I'm honored because he represents what is good about Chicago. You know, he came up from the South. He's worked hard his whole life. He's told all of his children. He's always told them, get a good education, work hard, give back to the community, just like my folks did. My dad was an immigrant, you know, only made it through 7th grade here in the Chicago public school system. His dad died, and it was the same language. Let me just put it that way. And what to do about a vision for the city of Chicago.
Now, you have run for mayor before. You were unsuccessful. Then you endorsed Rahm Emanuel. People were kind of surprised by that. Well, what prompted that?
I had 3 one-hour meetings with both candidates. It was a very, very difficult decision. There was just one factor, and it was the finances of the city. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Chewy would be a great legislator, and I think he will be in Congress. But there was the financial acumen of what we should do to get past the next 4 years.
But didn't Rahm also volunteer to help clear up your debt?
Well, I wish he did. It never happened. Let me put it that way.
So that's a popular belief that's
yes,
not
it is.
True.
Yes, it is. It started that morning. I think somebody on one of the other people that thought I was going to introduce or endorse you know, now congressman, they came forward and they started saying, they were asking on Twitter, oh, well, he's going to pay the debt. You know, I heard from both sides they were going to do all kinds of promises. But Rahm only said to me that, you know, there are other things to do in public life, and which is true. And so, you know, he never paid. I mean, you can look through the D2s. He never paid a penny towards it. And so that is not true.
Okay. But you like to serve. You were the alderman of the 2nd Ward. You liked that job. And it was the first time that a Caucasian represented a ward that was overwhelmingly black in like over 50 years. What is the magic that you have as a Caucasian getting votes from African Americans? Because in this day and age, political scientists don't believe that can happen.
Well, first off, when I was elected in 2007, I was the first Caucasian since 1915 in that ward, a historic African-American ward. I knocked on every door, not once, but 3 times. I told them who I am, what I am, a civil rights lawyer. I fight hard. I had some significant cases at that time. One about a false imprisonment, but also about baby Tamia, which was a young baby that was given up in Utah, and I fought to get that baby back. Every black journalist in the city said, there's no way you're going to be able to get that back. We've talked to every adoption lawyer. They weren't able to, there was no way that you can do that. I said, well, you don't know me, I'll do that. And I look back, I think part of that is the beginning of what we hear often now in the news about human trafficking, sex trafficking. That is what that was all about too. We changed the adoption laws here in Illinois, which ultimately affected the adoption laws across this country.
Mm-hmm. Crime is one of the big issues. What can you do to reduce crime?
Well, I think first of all, we have to open up our mental health clinics, and you know, probably not. You maybe double them up at this point. I've asked the county board in the past to make sure that they were doing that. They've neglected that. Tony Preckwinkle has neglected that. I think that's part of the problem.
But they say there's no money. Where does the money come from?
Well, for the minimum amount of money that to open up the mental health clinics, both in the city and in throughout the county, it would save in law enforcement, it would save imprisonment, it would save prosecutors' time, it would save police time on all of that. We would make it up tenfold. At the same time, I think we need to look at hiring more police officers. I've said that. That's why I voted against 6 of the 8 bad budgets that I was faced with. And we should hire through that and bring through the ranks more detectives. But we need to hire and bring to Chicago a crime lab. Just last year, between January and the end of November, 3,500 cases were dismissed because the Illinois State Police could not do the analysis on rape kits and drug kits, and so they had to throw them out of court.
Education. What are you going to do there? You want an elected school board?
I have always been in favor of an elected school board. I've been a proponent of that since going into the city council. We passed, we had an ordinance.
How does that make the schools better?
Any better? Or any better? It is more representative, but I have to tell you, it's not the end-all, the be-all. It won't solve the problems that we're faced with in our educational system. We need a guiding, long-term solution to deal with. And we just can't change positions because we have an elected mayor or we have an elected school board.
But what is the position? Again, you have been studying city government for a long time now. What is the vision that you would like to see that school board, whether you appoint it or it's elected? What do you want them to do to the schools?
Same things I've always said. We have to. Income inequality is a basic problem in our school system. You know, people. I just read something as I was on my way over here about all the North Side schools are much better. The magnet schools, the downtown ones. But at the same time, people come from all over the city for that. But we need to make sure we have equality and educational opportunity. When I had a young man killed in the ward outside of Crane, I was the architect of Operation Safe Passage. What we did there, we flooded the area with resources. We started after-school programs. We had mentoring programs from people coming into the community. Those are what's essential to have a good education. We need. I've been the strongest proponent out of all these candidates for vocation schools and trade schools. I don't know where all of a sudden they caught on that we need them in our schools. You know, all the reform measures that these candidates talk about, each and every one of them, whether it's education, policing, job initiatives, I've been there before. I brought them to the city council, and I was shut down. Some of them were critics, and now they're embracing these reforms. Or the other some were just laying low in the weeds because they were afraid to upset the mayor or somebody else at this point.
Is a story of your life that you have stepped on too many toes, and a lot of very important people want to crush you?
Well, I think that may be part of it. They know, look, when you move the whole second ward up to the north side, you've got to say what's going on. And the more I look at that, that was designed to help developers. In my first year in office, I gave back over $100,000 in campaign contributions to developers. At the same time, later on, I started realizing the influence of lobbyists. I knew it was there, but I stopped taking from lobbyists here in this city. You know, City Hall is controlled by lobbyists. It's not controlled by the people of this city. And I intend to restore the people to be running City Hall.
What is the worst decision made by a mayor of this city in the last 25 years?
Obviously, the parking meters and the selling off. See, I think we have to step back and look at privatization and what it means. First of all, we should look at, is the asset, should it be privatized? Secondly, what type of a lease? How long? I believe in shorter leases if we ever privatize something. An upfront sum of money to help whatever the budget crisis may be, or put it in for a rainy day. And then finally, we get a steady stream of income from that. The parking meters are pure corruption. Who benefited? Bill Daley's son off of it. He was the first in terms of what the papers happened. And I see that happening all the way across the board now.
So for people who live in this city, when they hear the name Daley, many of them think that's part of a legacy that's positive. You don't see it as a positive legacy.
Well, no, I don't think so. And it's you know, I see from the beginning of day one the patronage system from the first daily that ran this city, segregation in our city from the First Man Daily, politicalization of almost every department, and the use of that people. If they want a job with the city of Chicago, you have to become a precinct captain. You know, you go down to the next, the current daily, Richie. I mean, you look at what he sold off, what the pension crisis was. I got on the floor in 2010, and I said, no more pension holidays. We have to stop that. We had another pension holiday in 2010. We had 10 years of pension holidays under him, especially with the school board run by Gary Chico and Paul Vallis, of 10 years of not paying into the pension funds. I mean, that's the problem we have today. Our biggest problem, yes, is crime, education, and the budget, but this pension problem is so severe that I don't think most of the candidates know about it. They talk about it. Who's ever sworn in on May 15th, by September 1st, has to find $400 million. The next year after that, 600. After that, 800, and then $1 billion. We will be paying into the pension funds.
But where do you find it?
$2 billion.
If you get the job, what are you going to do?
Oh, besides praying for the first day, no. And I have to tell you, I've been an advocate for 6 years of going into a commuter tax. The mayor, Rahm, sent it out to the media that it will kill jobs. He was trying to get rid of the head tax. A commuter tax will not kill jobs. It's a myth. We are the economic center. If we tax people...
This is taxing suburbanites.
Suburbanites, people from Indiana, which is a lot, and people from Wisconsin, they come in. 1%. They can write it off of their federal income taxes. It's fairness, it's equity. They want police protection. They want fire protection when they come into our city. And you know, if that 1% will generate $300 million for the 800,000 people that come into the city daily, then they spend 40, 50 hours here.
Should the city continue to provide benefits and inducements and seduction, if you will, to corporations that are thinking of relocating here?
Well, that's a tricky question because I've seen it done before. It could have benefits. It depends on how much each employee brings here. But we've got this Lincoln Yards fiasco right now. $900 million of taxpayer money to help the developer on a vacant piece of property? The answer there should be no. We need to rethink what we're doing up there. We need to look at educational opportunities up there, transportation opportunities up there. So my answer is a no at this stage. Look at what we're going to give to Amazon. How many billion? 2 billion, 2.5 billion with the county, city, and state. They were all going to give it to bring Amazon here. And I don't think we were ever really on the list at that point.
What was the turning point in your life?
Probably about sixth grade when I saw a next door neighbor, young woman, a couple years older than me, being bullied by a guy. And I went out there and I tried to break up the fight. And since then, I've always fought for it. And when I was in high school, it was almost the same thing. I saw somebody in one of my classes calling one of the young African-American kids, our age, the N-word. And I said, you say that one more time, and we were going to start religion class out of all the classes. You say that one more time, I'm going after you. And he turned to him and he said it, and that was it. I remember the little scuffle we had, and I'm looking up, and the next thing I know is the priest is above us, and we spent 3 days in detention over that fight. I mean, those, you know, and growing up in my neighborhood.
What was your neighborhood?
Roseland. I grew up in Roseland, a neighborhood. But on Sundays, my mom was Polish. My dad was Italian immigrant. But people from all around the neighborhood. My mom spoke 6 languages and wrote 6 languages. And on Sunday nights, people would come over and, can you translate this? The letter. They couldn't read or write. and she would translate them from Russian to Polish, Italian, German, Spanish. It was a mini UN, and I learned a lot.
How is your health? Because you suffered cancer several years ago. Are you clean right now?
I'm clean, but yeah, and I counsel people. I counsel people right now. I have a support group who I lead. I get calls almost daily on people. I had a very bad. I mean, I've had several operations that were post because of how it affects your body. A lot of radiation, chemo. I lost 50 pounds. I put 45 back on. A feeding tube for 8.5 months, and I ran for re-election as alderman when I won again. So I'm in good fighting shape. Yes.
Do you support legalization of recreational marijuana in this city?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Well, I hate to say it, people are going to smoke it all the time. I left my office in August on Franklin and Van Buren. I walked all the way to State Street and then down to Randolph in a nice August day. White, black, brown, everybody was smoking a joint. I was just utterly surprised at how prevalent it was, from the traders to the homeless to everybody else along the line.
So government should give up.
Yeah, prohibition doesn't work. And on a regular basis in the state of Illinois, the numbers are 800,000 people regularly smoke marijuana. I'll tell you somewhat of a story. When I was suffering from the cancer, and again, it was in my tonsils, I had 2 or 3 lobbyists in the back of the city council say, "How's your pain management?" Hint, hint, and giving me the blink. And I'm like, "I'm fine. It's in my throat." You know, I mean, that's how prevalent it is.
Do you see it as a financial panacea?
Oh, we got to be kidding ourselves. Anybody that read the November 9th report that came out, and the Tribune did, I think, a page and a half on it, shows that municipalities will receive very little money out of it. Maybe we'll get $5 to $7 million for the city of Chicago.
What about a legal casino?
In 2010, before the City Club, I gave a speech saying it's time to have a casino here. If the governor signed the bill today, we had an operator tomorrow, we can put it up for in the McCormick Place within 4 to 5 months. And I'm not saying that's a permanent location. I know there's a little bit dispute between the hospitality industry. They would like the hotels to have it. Only hotels with 1,000 rooms or more, and there's 7 of those, I believe.
Who is the best mayor in the city of Chicago in your lifetime?
Oh, in my lifetime? Well, I worked under Harold Washington, and I started before that. But I was on his hiring committee. I was able to hone my skills as a civil rights lawyer. I got some of the biggest cases that somebody can ever have as a young person.
So is that your answer?
And so that's my answer. Yes,
Harold Washington.
Yes, it is, because he brought people together.
Bob Fioretti, is Chicago ready for Fioretti? We'll find out on February 26th.